Welcome to the Nameless Ones. My name is Avian Doyle. I am your soul coach and angel healer. So today I'm tuning into the frequencies for summer solstice, 21st of June 2023. And you are probably feeling the really big maximus energies building, these new frequencies, new codes coming in. We've got lots of upgrades, lots of solar energy, neutrinos, all these lovely, expansive and activating energies. And this will apply whether you're going into more deeper into the dark, whichever hemisphere you're on, or deeper into the light. Whatever you've been working through, whatever you've been healing, it's going to be set alight. It's like that summer bonfire on a beautiful beach in Bali, and there's some big summer solstice celebration going on. That big fiery empowering energy is upgrading you now, bringing in these higher frequencies to really show you and to really take you into the next timeline of your life. So if you've been wanting to shift timelines, if that's something that you've been trying to manifest in the last few weeks or few months or even few years, this summer solstice is very resourceful, it's very supportive, and it will make bigger whatever's inside you. So I would advise that to work with the energy the days leading up to this, because whatever is percolating and brewing inside you, whatever you've been reflecting on or healing, whatever you've been shifting, will be magnified in many ways, but in a very benefic, positive, uplifting way. So it's going to take us deeper into the dark of ourselves or the light of ourselves. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. The solstice is, especially this year, 2023, it's burgeoning energy. It's energy that is reaching its crescendo inside you and outside you. And it's great if you can celebrate it with friends or family or someone you love. If you can go for a walk on the beach, or if you can spend some time in nature. There is a magical energy, especially this year, I feel. So we have this starburst, this supernova starburst the angels were channeling with me earlier. And it's basically infinite intelligence exploding. And it's like our consciousness, especially the crown chakra with this solstice on Wednesday, it's blasting everything open. So if you've been feeling, just say you've been trying to heal and work through a lot of sadness, a lot of density, right? A lot of 3D stuff. This is a great time to let that build up in your energy, move up through the 7 chakras of basically up through your spine, right, up into your throat, and just release it out through the top of your head. So for some of you, there might be some headaches and things like that, because with this increase in these neutrinos, these codes, these solar energies, it's like if we don't get up to speed with that, if we don't catch up with that energy, it can sometimes feel like a little bit of a rough ride. It can feel like you're being pulled along and you're kind of bouncing away on the ground, where if you can try and smooth and align your energy in the days leading up, that will be really beneficial to you. So that's why I'm creating this video as well, just to give you a heads up as I do. So, and it's interesting, I'm just looking at the window there, and there's 2 magpies. So we say when you see 2 magpies in Ireland, that's 2 for joy. And we say 3 for girl, 4 for boy. You probably know that magpie little poem. It's very, very old. And I feel like I'm being shown that now as a symbol of joy. And then now there's actually, now there's 4. There's actually 4 magpies. So 3 for girl, 4 for boy. So some of you might be meeting a boy or minding someone's little boy, or might be giving birth to a boy, okay? That was the belief years ago as well. When a woman was pregnant, if she saw 3 magpies, she'd be saying, oh, you're going to have a girl. That's, we have these superstitions. So this wisdom is easily accessed at this time, but when we're upgrading, especially if you're a healer or a channel, you notice that when you're in upgrade season, which it is at this time, you need more rest, you need more sleep, and you probably need a lot more food, a lot more calories, because you're burning up the 7 bodies, apart from just your physical body, are working overtime to receive these energies. So you need to support that. You need to nourish yourself and really tend to your self-care as well. Okay, so the frequencies are building. They're reaching this crescendo on the 21st. Now, recently you may have had some clarity on something that you most likely felt you needed to be alone. You needed to take some alone time in order to have that enlightened clarity come in. I spoke about this in the mid-June energy update, that there would be something, especially around that Gemini moon, where you had to be on your own, or you had to do something on your own that maybe initially you didn't want to be on your own, or you didn't think you'd have to do that on your own. It might be some work-related thing where you thought that you'd have support and somebody didn't show up, or you might have thought that you were going to take a big holiday or vacation somewhere and you broke up with that person, so you had to go on your own. That's the kind of examples of the energy that I was shown, that but that in doing that and facing it on our own and tending to that and having that experience, that great benefit would come from that. And I actually had that very thing happen. I had a few days to myself on my own, like I haven't had in a while, and it was so nourishing. I just felt so peaceful, and I was able to really tune deeply into myself, and I could actually see my progress. I could quantify. I felt like I could actually measure, and I'm not one for measuring, as you know. I don't measure anything. Like, you should see my cooking. It's all feel it out, trust the gut. And it's fine. I'm definitely not one for numbers or taking measurements. But I could actually quantify viscerally, feel in myself how much I've healed and how far I've come, and how good I'm doing, and how I've turned what was some of the most challenging obstacles in my life. I took lemons and I made lemonade. So there was a great sense of achievement in that. And I also got an amazing work and character reference from my supervisor, and I was just, it was gold. It was just, I was so moved by it, and I was humbled and touched by it as well. So that was such a lovely cherry on the cake. But with this clarity, it's like the sun coming, like the sunshine, the sunlight, the sun energy expanding in our world right now. That's what's happening inside us. Our inner sun, our solar plexus, our power place is being activated. It's being set alight, and there's tremendous growth, and we can see it. We can actually, If you stop now and do what I did at the weekend and actually tune into yourself, take a few deep breaths, you know, meditate in a silence of just space, give yourself space, you can actually see there's been tremendous growth, especially this year. And there's also a reignition of the energies we had in March. So if there was something in March of 2023 that you committed to, that you decided, you made a decision on something, you had a choice and you made a decision, there's an enhancement of that commitment now. There's an enhancement of those energies. And you can also see how those things have paid off, and you can see how they're all tying together nicely now as you move further into this year. Okay, so the themes that the angels really spoke about for this summer solstice was bonding. So lots of bonding, and that's why I suggest to you that you spend time with family and friends and be around someone you love or people you love around this time, because the bonds that are there can really deepen. Connection was another big theme that they spoke about this year, so lots and lots of connection. There's a beautiful attention to wildness and wild nature and your wild nature, and what that means for you, and how can you express that. You know, how can you create more, how can you move your body more in that more wild, natural way. Perhaps instead of going to the gym, you're going to go and take a hike, or you're going to go camping, you're going to take an adventure trip up a mountain, right? This is the kind of energies that we're being encouraged to really step into, because there's something about being outside, especially right now with these beautiful light codes. And we've had a lot of solar flashes as well. For those of you who keep track of the Schumann resonance, you know, the last few weeks there's been some crazy spikes and stuff like that. I don't actually, again, measure that by looking it up. I just kind of feel it and know. I know when there's a solar flash. Like, if I'm having a real intense, overwhelming, heavy day, I'm like, yeah, there's solar flashes today, and my angels will confirm that. And then somebody might send me a graph of the Schumann resonance on that day, and I'm like, yeah, definitely felt that. So if you're a channels really embody energies on behalf of the collective, so that's just part of our gig. And you might have to lie down for hours at a time and process those energies, or you might just need to take that alone space, that solitude, so that you can really incubate and allow those upgrades to anchor into your energy field. Okay, so there was also healing. Anything you've been healing, I spoke about that in the beginning. Everything is being, there's fuel, there's fire, there's expansion, there's growth. So everything is being enhanced. So for some of you, if there's a death in your life, if there's some kind of ending, you might feel the grief around that enhanced. So you might have to release a lot of sadness, or you might have to release a lot of anger. Basically, whatever is inside you is going to be enhanced and is going to be amplified with this summer solstice. So do your clearing, do your cleansing before, so that your whatever does come up, you're able to handle it, and it's not too overwhelming. So relief was another big theme. There's a big relief for some of you. You're going to want to celebrate this relief, because it's some kind of justice. It's some kind of, what's the word? There's a sense of culmination, of completion, of, oh yeah, this was another big one. Boundaries. In ways that you've had to practice, learn and instill saying no and having boundaries with people. So maybe you have a cousin, or you have a friend who always abuses the boundaries and leaves you feeling drained and tired, and you decided, and maybe this was in March, maybe that's why March is coming back in. Perhaps in March you made a commitment to yourself that I am not going to answer the phone every time she calls, or I'm not going to waste 3 hours with that person again, or whatever. You know, boundaries can be implemented in so many different ways in our lives, and they're wonderful because they don't only keep you safe, they keep the other person safe too. Because people who go around being energy vampires, if everyone enables them, they learn nothing, they never expand, their consciousness doesn't evolve, and that doesn't help anybody. They stay stuck in that victimhood mindset. So by you saying no and not being available and just simply saying, no, I can't do that, I can't help you there, you're actually putting the power back in their hands. So that's really important message for somebody at this time. So this chair is very creaky. It's really old, my granddad's chair. So there's something to do with the way that you had to learn these boundaries. There was something, and it could have been last year. It doesn't have to be March. March is just, there's a similar vibration repeating from March that's happening now. But it could have been 2 years ago, it could have been 3 years ago. But there's a payoff. There's some payoff in the boundaries. In some way that you said, no, I am not going to suffer this fool anymore. I am not going to enable this person to abuse me in any shape or form. That is paying off now, and you're actually seeing the tangible results of those boundaries. You're feeling better. When you have to be with that person, perhaps you work with that person, they don't affect you anymore. You're not bothered by them. They're not able to weasel their way in or find little cracks in you. You're strong, you're empowered, you're confident, you're feeling cool and calm. So they don't have that kind of sway with you anymore. So that's another big theme for this summer solstice, and indeed the energy of the next 2 weeks. I'm just looking at things I scribbled down. Oh yeah, they said this is like, the word they kept using was somersault. I think I'll call this video somersaulting or somersault. Somersaulting you into a new energy, the crown chakra and the throat. They said there's no need for words or the mind or your story or your history, okay? Feel the fullness of silence. Deep sadness will be released to feel great joy. So if there is sadness inside you, if you feel you've been incubating some heavier energies, this is a great time to release. And you'll probably find they come up quite effortlessly. You don't really have to think about it. And actually what they just said there was, don't think about it. Do not put words on it. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to wrap up your soul expressions with the bow and with an explanation and with a little description tag. You don't need to do that with your feelings, but you do need to feel them and you do need to embrace them. And that's the most important thing with this solstice, because this is a gateway point. This is a doorway, a gateway into a new timeline. So that sack of potatoes on your back, they're not coming with you. They can't. You won't be able to fit through the gateway. You won't be able to fit through the doorway if you've got all these Louis Vuitton bags that you're trying to bust through. That's not going to work. So they also said rapid reception, which I liked that. I was like, oh, okay, so we are receiving. We're definitely, like, there's some deep healing going on. There's a lot of lovely reception, receiving, receptive energies. And when I think of receptivity, I think of the feminine. And it just so happens that this is a very divinely feminine energy summer solstice. So really tap into or lull into the feminine aspects of yourself, which is stillness, silence, mystery, pleasure, flavor, taste, senses, sensual, sexuality, fertility. This was a time of fertility, and it was a time where they would practice fertility rites in the past, and they would have you know, there would be a lot of sexual parties and dressing up and being out in nature and flowers in your hair and, you know, women wearing pretty dresses and the men smelling good. And, you know, it was all about mating and finding your soulmate and hand fastings and getting married and all that kind of stuff. It was very, very romantic, but it's also very raw and very visceral. So without romanticizing it too much, because I think there's beauty in that rawness and there's beauty in the fullness of this time. It's a very full, this year it's a very, very, very full summer solstice. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else they said. Bonding, connection, big energy, mood, new emotions. Yeah. So they showed me, like, if there's something that you rebirthed in May. Now, a lot of you told me, sorry, my nose always gets that little, I get that little psychic thing when I'm tuning in. You know, a lot of psychics get a lot of nosebleeds and get itchy noses or runny noses, or it's you have an extrasensory portal in your sinuses, and that's why it can be affected, and you can have a runny nose or an itchy nose or a little, you know, twitchy nose twitchy nose when you're quite psychic and when you're highly sensitive. What was I saying there? Yeah, so what you found maybe was a tough labor, a tough birth in May. This is where it's like you've given birth to that project, place or thing or person or that relationship, and now it's going to build up traction. Now it's got movement. Now it's got momentum. Now there's magic being given to it. So this is a very potent time for rituals, for magic, for manifestation. And if there was something that you were really wanting to manifest to birth in May, and maybe you had a bit of a tough time giving birth to that, you're going to feel the relief now, especially around the solstice and the days and the week or two after. Especially, you're going to see that maybe you met somebody, maybe you had been single for years, and then you met somebody in May, and you were kind of like, oh God, like I'm really shy, I've got social anxiety, it's so long since I've been on a date. That's all those teething problems are gone. They're gone now because you're settling in, and there's an expansion of the excitement of the magic of being back in the dating world or meeting this particular person who you're excited about. So that's all being fueled as well. And there's fire and passion. Passion is a big theme as well with this. So extremes as well, they said, from the extremes of the light to the dark. We spoke a bit about that before. If you're carrying a lot of darkness, it's going to come up. If you're carrying a lot of light, it's going to come up. So do celebrate, you know, whatever point in your life you're at. I highly recommend you, even if it's just calling your best friend who you can't physically be with, just say, I'm just ringing to wish you summer solstice blessings, and just share those blessings, because it is a very loving, passionate time. So sensitivity enhanced, empowered. Celebrate your sensitivity. You know, that's always going to be my message. New cycle. This is a new cycle. I was told this in May, that this summer solstice was going to be particularly fiery, particularly like they almost were like saying, like they almost showed me just you know those electrical pads that the doctors sometimes have to jumpstart somebody who's going to die, going to flatline, and they do that electrical thing. It's got that kind of intensity to it, but in a really upgrading, uplifting way. Now they also said Stargate's opening and star seeds being conceived, so fertility, right? We have a lot of births there, we have a lot of sexual energy. rainbow children being conceived as well, coming through. Boundaries, seeing the positive side effects of saying no. Yeah. And then really reflecting on the commitments that you've made in your life thus far and how they're playing out, and understanding that there's always more work to do. But as you celebrate and you appreciate each milestone, it enhances you and encourages you to move on to the next. So they're the themes for the Summer Solstice 23. I hope you're going to have a magical time. I think it's a great time to enhance anything that you're hoping to experience or manifest. Definitely get out your magical toolbox and have fun with this energy. It's a very enlivening, life affirming frequency, and the upgrades that you receive around that time will be so beneficial and make a lot more sense in the latter half of the year. So it's so important to be present for these upgrades, so that you can use that wisdom, that infinite intelligence in your life and in your service to others, because I know many of you who come here are in service as healers or empaths to the world, but also for yourself and for your own life. So celebrate something that you're proud of. Celebrate something about yourself where you can see, wow, I've really progressed, I've come a long way, and there's great spiritual growth in that. And I wish you all the blessings of a bountiful summer solstice from me and the angels, the nameless ones. Namaste.